I almost said morning. Good Lord, that tells you
It is
how
morning.
my day is going. Well, for you, it is. It is Thursday morning for our Australian hounds and friends, and it's from the past. We're still in Wednesday. I don't even know what day it is. So, how are you today, Christine?
I am actually feeling really good. Good. I'm feeling really great,
Good.
actually. I had a good sleep, I think. Strange dreams, but I'm feeling very positive today, which is a good great place to be in.
Hey, just the whole week, just blame the eclipse. I mean, that's what I mean.
That's
I'm
what
just going to
everyone
be on
is
the
doing,
bad.
yeah?
Yeah, yeah. If my toilet clogs, if the dog eats the child or the homework, it's the eclipse, right?
It's all the
So
eclipse. Did you see it? Did you see the eclipse? We couldn't see it in
no,
Australia. It was in the middle of the night.
I should have. It was 98% here, and my wife didn't trust the glasses, or the kid ate the glass. I don't know, but so I had to watch it on the news in a stupid piece of paper. But it's okay. We had fun, and yeah, I know it happened. So hey, tell her if nobody watches the first minute, that's a good thing too. Well, there's
Ah,
Melissa. She's watching the
Melissa
first
is
minute.
here.
Love
She's
you, Melissa.
watching.
All
I
right,
gotta
so
have
tell us
Melissa
your
on my
eclipse
show
story.
soon. I gotta get Melissa on my Snappy chat soon.
Oh yeah, you do. And unless you're Australian, because apparently y'all didn't get the eclipse. It's so sad. Next time you Zoom party, we'll have a Zoom party so you guys can
I can
watch it
see
on
it.
TV. Yeah,
Aw.
where's Lion at? We should either bring Lion up here with us, but he's
I'm
being
right
shy.
here.
There he is.
I'm on.
What is that? Did you steal from my cabinet? What is this?
Oh, you never know. That's my
Whiskey.
whiskey brand. Y'all didn't
Is
know
that
I
yours?
Yeah, that's my company. We have a whiskey brand as well. It's called Hustle
Wow.
77. For those who grind, you deserve to relax. Look at this. Let me show you guys. That is my
Oh,
whiskey.
you're already on it. Hey, you're already drinking now, Lion. You probably need it for this show.
It's going to be an interesting show. But yeah, that's
That's
my
right.
company. So just promote it. So that's all.
Oh, here's my question. So we drank Lion's coffee in the morning, and then we're all hyper while we're drunk in the evening. Is that what you got going on here?
Pretty much. I'm serving every different avenue. I'm the king of side hustle. Everybody can see my hustle and introducing my hustle belt. It's my
I'm so
yeah,
belt.
brother man. If you never seen a hustler, macho Randy Man Savage. Yeah, put me on the big screen. Elizabeth. Yeah.
Okay, somebody's been drinking his own supply. Hell yes, sir.
Baby.
Yeah.
Oh, you mix it with the coffee. Yeah, mix the whiskey with the coffee, and you don't know how much you're drinking.
Yeah, there you go.
Homebrew.
Man, man, look, I'm rubbing off on everybody, man. It's like the professional gremlins too out here, man. I love it. All right, hey,
Yes.
we'll get the QR code if you want to put your link up there, Lion, man. Let people know where they can find your stuff.
Yeah.
Man, be more than happy. We support each other in the Hounds, you know that. So,
Yes, yes, yes.
hey, let me get to this before we roll the intro because I want to make sure we get this rock star up here soon. All right, so if you missed last week, shame on you. But if you didn't miss last week, so this was in the deeper woods than I'm usually accustomed to. Imagine that. And this was a couple weeks ago, and I believe this is probably somewhere in the 50s or the 60s. This is an actual outhouse, right? So there was a chicken coop and everything I showed y'all last week, pretty much intact, like it was yesterday. Had to be in the 60s or 50s. So anyway, I was like, why is there two holes in this outhouse? Yeah, because I don't know, like hanging out at the same time. And so I did
Is that the
Google this, and
toilet?
apparently yeah, that's the toilet, and this one's not so sophisticated because it just goes out the back down the hill. If you want the details, so there's two seats in it, and I couldn't figure out why. And so it's a mommy, a daddy, and a kid hole. A lot of the fancy luxury outhouses used to have three, and they were facing away from the house. So if people had a lot of kids, right, farmland and stuff like that. In some of these places, you can go, and there's like 12 of them lined up, no privacy, just that's it. That just, just like a trough. So yeah, I'm not that country, but I enjoy to visit there every now and then. So anyway, we had this
Well, it
debate
kind
last
of
week.
sounds like it's just up your alley, yeah? If we're going to talk about what you get up to.
We got the plumbing in last week, so I'm kind of enjoying the flush and the sound it makes when the flush. Yeah, all right. So what do you say? I
Yeah.
stop talking and rambling. You ready to get it
Before we
going?
get into another conversation, hey, Mike, we could go there now.
Yeah. Well,
About
people
what
are
you get
actually
up
here, so we
to.
want to.
We want to
People are
keep them
here.
on, yeah? We want to keep them on, yeah? I'm just saying, you watch this space, and I'll make sure to add in some context when we need to. By the way, Mark is saying that Australia will get their total solar eclipse on July 22nd. So 2028, we're gonna have to wait a few years. I thought it was this year, 4 years away.
You won't be there. We're bringing you and all the other Aussies over here. Y'all leave the
Exactly.
kangaroos
We're coming to the US. We'll bring the snakes.
You just leave those big kangaroos and those birds on the beach that for some reason no one's scared of. Yeah, I'm not ready for that. All right, so let's roll the intro, let's roll the intro line and let's get the party started. Can't wait.
Good. Yes.
Are you looking to grow your business and your mindset alongside a fun and awesome pack? Grab a chair and your favorite beverage and join Mike Ashabraner, the business mechanic, and his win-win network for the Hounds of Business Happy Hour.
All righty, so let's go through these real quick, man. These great people doing great things. First of all, Kofi, he don't need a last name. We just call him Kofi. Everybody knows this guy. Rock solid guy. One of the most inspiring, inspirational stories I've ever heard. Okay, and he just keeps doing it. So Kofi loves to write, loves to share his message of positivity, being an optimist when most people wouldn't be, and it's very hard to be one. And so his book, man, I've been starting to read that, Unbroken Optimist. Wow. Well, this guy walks the walk and talks the talk. This ain't just theory. This guy has lived it. Have the utmost respect for him. And he was on Mike King's show, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But tremendous partnership. And then got to meet the great Craig A. Williamson. Wow, he'll be on the Hounds pretty soon. So stay tuned for that. But his book, Regarding Things That Matter, that premieres April 16th. Wow. The stories, I'm just going to keep you on suspense, man. I'm going to use the curiosity to, we'll have to tell you later. But you can go on my profile, the Hounds of Business, or YouTube channel, Hounds of Business, and you can catch the replay. This was a phenomenal 25-minute interview with Mike King, goes on ESPN Richmond. And that's every other Tuesday. So we post that on the Hounds of Business on Mike King Biz LinkedIn, and also Mike King on his profile on LinkedIn. So it'll be the 26th is the next time, Tuesday, 2 p.m. Eastern time and New York City time. Tuesday, every other Tuesday. So the 26th will have special guests, but go back and watch this one. This was a fantastic show. We had some technical issues, but Craig just kept going to the end, and he finally got on there at the end. And Mike King Biz, he airs on ESPN. He's got a great business audience out there in Richmond. And this show airs on Friday on his station, right in front of a huge business audience. So thank you, Mike King, for that. Everybody check that out. That is chock full of value. And just, again, a testament to how we back each other up, right? The Hounds has the publicity hub. Thanks to Dr. CJ, Constance Leland, and Level Up Academy. Again, when they put the peanut butter and the jelly in the same jar, still talking about it 20 years later. Boom, mind blowing, right? And Mike King was blown away by it too. He said he didn't like the way it spreads on the butter on the bread, but we'll debate that later. So everybody, make sure you check that out. And welcome to the pack, Kofi. Craig, you guys are top notch. I can't even talk, man. I'm just so happy y'all here. So, and who doesn't know this lady? 20-year Marine officer, drill instructor, Sandra Gonzalez, right? Teaching us and helping us tap into and maintain our sexy confidence. She has an empowerment retreat. This is for veteran entrepreneurs, okay, exclusively for you guys, all right? Because who doesn't love the service and sacrifice from our great veterans? She's taking this to a whole new level, empowering, inspiring, and people who are already great, high upper level folks, business owners. You might be great, but she's going to take you to the next level of unbelievable, right? So love working with Sandra, love her being in the pack. She gets it. She's all about reciprocity, puts other people first. Scan that QR code, go to her profile. It's Sandra Gonzalez with 2 Z's. All right. So make sure you check that out November 15th to the 18th. All kind of opportunities. Go ask her for the information. And of course, tell her Mike sent you. Doesn't hurt. All right. Oh, hey, look at this guy. So again, how can we not share things, right? Well, we're taking high level, heart-centered professionals, okay, off of competitive rented space of social media. Like, put them in a community of like-minded folks so they can grow their business. We farm and fish here. We don't hunt. All right. We don't go out there with the hard stuff. Not knocking it, but we just rather build relationships, uh, just use that ecosystem that the Hounds presents, get to know each other and collaborate and make money. All right. Because we're not the Hounds of kumbaya and leisure. We get stuff done here. We're the Hounds of business, but we do it in a heart-centered way. And we do truly care about each other. All right. And so instead of worrying about what I want every day, I go out there and find Christine and help her get what she wants. And then I get back whatever I want. That's how it works. It's not theory, guys. This is very profitable. All right. And it's fun. So if you're looking for a fun and awesome pack, hey, DM us. There's a QR code there. You can find us on LinkedIn. Send us a message. We also have a group call coming up, so you guys can get in here. This has been real fun. People
We have
are having these
networking coming
talks.
up. Networking is coming up. So we have our internal networking events, and they're fun. They're really, really fun. So great way to meet like-minded people. Great way to build relationship, which is what it's all about. What you're teaching, yeah? You teach us how to know, like, and trust, and you do it with a heart. And you're amazing at it, Mike. So I'm just going to add that to it.
No, thank you. And you have to be a Hound. So hurry up next Tuesday at 3:30 New York City Eastern time, right? The next couple Tuesdays, you can go to my LinkedIn page. You can go to the Hounds page. Right there, there's a link for you to register. Do that. All right. We're always looking for good stories. We got a massive media channel network, publicity hub. And at minimum, we can connect you with somebody who can help, your business, help advance your mission, right? So don't be shy. All right. We love all good people. You don't have to be a certain place in business. Just come as you are. But you're not going to leave the same. I guarantee it, in a good way. All right. So without further ado, how about we bring her up? Ready? Let's get her up here. Is she still here? We can chase her
Janine, is
off?
she still here? There she is.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yay, Janine.
Yeah. Good morning.
How are
It's
you?
my morning here, but it's your evening, right? I'm very well. How are you? I'm a lot better than I was. How are you?
Oh, fantastic.
Good.
So where
good.
are you?
So I'm in Bangkok in Thailand, but yeah, so I got up really early for this. 5 a.m. It's now
Oh
just
my
gone
gosh.
6, but I'm just sat at my window and it's light now. So it was dark. It was dark before, but it's light all of a sudden. So yeah, I'm really good. Really happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Well, you don't look sleepy at all, man.
No, I'm all
and I
right
feel
now. It's amazing what some makeup can do, hide a multitude of sins.
yeah. I'm a fan of the moisturizer, but don't tell nobody. Right?
Yeah,
All right.
everyone's got to moisturize, right?
I got to keep my street cred up. So let me give a rundown for folks who may not know you, because you have an impressive resume, but the way you conduct yourself and talk and just your presence is really impressive to me. All right. So you have and finish this for me. All right. 20 years experience in mental health, right? You have 3 degrees. So we got to hook you up with Melissa Robinson Weinmiller, because she's got 1,500. So does Dr. CJ. And you've spent a lot of years, right, working with high risk offenders and prisoners. And then tell us about your background. Like, so it was clinical hypnotherapist. Tell us what you kind of do in the background, because I think it's impressive.
Yeah, you're correct. I worked with men in the UK, men in prison, because I'm from the UK originally. I relocated to Southeast Asia in 2022. I'll tell you about that later. But yeah, I worked with men in prison for many years, and I specialized in working with high-risk offenders. Very, very stressful, as you can imagine. So my kind of, I guess, my awareness around well-being, mental health, and supporting people with mental health, my kind of love of that started then. I'll tell you about that later. But yeah, back in nearly 10 years now, I can't believe, I don't know where the time has gone. 10 years ago, I set up my company, Change for Success. This time has flown. And yeah, so I help people with their mental health, their well-being, their mindset, but I work a lot now with executives, with senior managers, with their teams. I love to work top down with companies. So I love to, because I always say, if you're not looking after yourself kind of mentally with your mindset, how can you manage your team? Because how you look after yourself is how you look after everyone else, right? So I love working from the top. I love working with CEOs, senior managers, and then we go in and work with their teams. And we get people to a good place. We help people level up, because, that we were just chatting off air before we came on, that controls everything. It controls how we think, how we feel, how we act. And if we don't look after ourselves, which a lot of us don't, we can't kind of look after anyone else. And my passion came about many, many years ago when I had my own mental health challenges and struggles. big time back in that old job, because that was a really super stressful job. I mean, I was working, you name it, I was working with them. Murderers, drug dealers,
Wow.
violent offenders, robbers, domestic offenders, and we had huge caseloads. And the minute I kind of, you know, did all my qualifications and went into practice, I saw so many people who were burnt out. And I remember saying to myself then, this isn't a job for life. And, you know, 10 years down the line, I suffered my own kind of challenges. And yeah, I was in a bad place coming out of an abusive marriage. But I learned I went off and I flew off to Vietnam because I just needed to escape this awful situation that I was in. And I learned these skills, strategies, techniques that just changed my life. It changed everything. I mean, I looked about 10 years older than I do now. Never had Botox. So back then I was in a mess. No Botox, just water, right? Water and good sleep when you're not waking up at 5 a.m. No. So yeah, my journey back then led me to do what I do now. Yeah, I retrained as a hypnotherapist, an NLP and EFT practitioner. I went on to do my third degree in clinical psychology, which allowed me then to, what COVID gave me, allowed me to publish some research in a peer-reviewed journal, which then got published in 2020. That was a very proud moment. Hard work, but proud times. So yeah, here we are now. As I say, I relocated to Southeast Asia. I was in Vietnam for 1.5 years. I'm currently in Bangkok. My plan is to set up a high-end wellness center out here. That's why we're out here. So there's a big strategy going on in the background with that as well, and some local businesses that we're approaching here to work with their teams. And so yeah, there's a lot going on.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing. What a story. What a journey you've been on, and yet it's led you to exactly be who you are today, despite all the struggles. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, completely. And, you know, I was talking to somebody the other day, and so many people, like, you know, when they hear, I do a talk and it's called How One Word Changed My Life. And back in 2011, I was in a bad place. Like, you know, I couldn't have gone on something like this because my confidence was on the floor, lack of self-worth, lack of self-belief. And I had this one conversation, and this one word, honestly, it literally changed the trajectory of my life. And it led me to go on this path to where I am now. And when I kind of explain, you know, I was in an abusive marriage, so many people are like, oh, you know, that's awful. I'm so sorry you went through that. And I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Like, it's not a good place to be. I would never want to repeat that, but that time of my life. But that actually led me to where I am now. So if it wasn't for that situation, which was obviously, I wouldn't want to go there again, because it was a horrible time. But if it wasn't for that, it wouldn't have led me to, you know, go to this place where I learned these strategies that just changed everything. And this is why I do what I do now. This is what I teach. This is what I teach my clients. And I kind of say, no, like, yeah, that in a sense was a good thing, because if it wasn't for me going through that adversity, going through that challenge, going through those horrific struggles where I was just in a really dark place, I wouldn't be doing what I do now. And now I get to teach people, you know, my wonderful clients who I love dearly. I love all my clients because I love this work so much. You know, I get to teach them these tools, techniques. I had a text of a client yesterday. I just meant to check in with him, and we stopped working together last year. And like, I checked in with him at Christmas, and he was like, this is the best Christmas I've ever had. And he says, I can't believe where my life is now. We worked together for 3 months, and he was in a bad way for years. You can't put a price on this work, I don't think, because of the changes you can see in such a short space of time. And when I'm getting messages like that, you know, months and months after I've worked with these clients, to tell me they're in such an amazing place, they didn't expect to be in this place, that for me is just wow. And, you know, because people just expect they have to live like this. You've got to live with feeling depressed. You've got to live with feeling low. You've got to live with, you know, anxiety or confidence issues, or you don't need to live with this. This is just an old belief system. It's just an old way of being. It's just, I can talk through why we think like this in a moment, if you like. I can talk through this with yourselves regarding kind of, we're talking about cracking the code as well, which we can touch on. But we don't need to live like this. You know, this client, by the way, when he first came to see me, was really skeptical. I like skeptical because I'm like, right, let's get cracking. Because you know, and as I say, months down the line, he's like, wow, I didn't expect to be here. I just face any challenge with ease. He gained some incredible promotions, like, yeah, and he's very present with his family. And now he's got this amazing life, you know, with his wife to be and his daughter, and like he just didn't expect. And here he is months later saying life is incredible. I could talk through hundreds
That's
of success.
amazing. That's an amazing story.
Yeah, I
It's
just
really
had this
amazing.
client text yesterday, and you know, but yeah, because I'm so passionate about this, and when I hear these stories, it just I think we've both talked about being heart-centered. I know it sounds a bit cliche, but like I always say to clients like how much I love them all, because I just really admire their passion, their progress, and just how well they do in such a short space of time. You're not talking years and years. You're talking months. Sometimes I see clients improve their mindset in days or weeks when they've been suffering for decades. I've seen clients suffering for 30, 40 years. They come to me, and so when you see that change, it's so rewarding, and that's why I love this work. And for me, it doesn't actually feel like work, because my clients are amazing. You know, they do the work, they check in, and then they go away with this, you know, this incredible new life. And for me, that is just everything. You know.
Yeah, let me wow, because you said so much there I resonate with. First of all, you're a perfect fit, because we think all too often we have a business problem, and we're always focused on the technical. When we, in reality, at least in my case, right, and a lot of other folks in the Hounds in early days that I have known throughout the years, it's in here. It's our self-belief or lack of confidence or some negative tape or something that, you know, we don't believe in ourselves or we don't value or love ourselves. And so let me back up just a little bit, because I know I see the audience and I know people in here, and they're going to resonate with this. So that moment where you were doing your thing and then you went through this abusive relationship for a long time, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people, because I had people that are very close family with me, and they went through that, and I saw that. So that is very, I get it. I empathize with that. But I also know that a lot of people don't do anything about it. They never overcome, because it's such a hard thing to do, right? So what, if you don't mind sharing, what was that catalyst? What was that?
Sure.
How was it that you were able to face all of that and not just live like that the rest of your life?
It was, yeah, it was hard. By the way, the mindset, mental health piece, you've done the hard bit, so that can potentially be quite easy. I'll talk about that in a bit. But yeah, like the reason why I've talked so openly about this over the years, and the reason why one is to raise awareness, and two is to, I guess, show people that I was there with huge caseload. But by the way, just to put this into context as well, my dad got really unwell, and he passed away from cancer at the age of 60. So we were dealing with all that. So I was in a very I was in this place, you know, where my head was all over the place, and I met this guy, and he kind of came along, and, you know, he's very charismatic, right? He was very attractive. He ticked all these boxes. Right. So he came along when I was at this place in my life where I was really struggling. Right. So, and then what happens is these cracks kind of, you know, happen, and these things happen. But when you're in this bad place already, and you're very kind of low emotionally and everything else, I was there trying to hold everyone together, you know, my mom, the family, everything else. And he kind of came along, and the reason why I've been so open about this is because I used to work with domestic violence offenders, right? I used to work with men in prison. They used to come out of prison. I used to teach them because I used to work with victims as well. I used to go and sit in victims' front rooms in their houses for hours on end. They'd talk through this horrific abuse, that they'd gone through these horrific offences. And I used to work in very deprived areas, Manchester, Liverpool, back in the UK. So I kind of saw it all. And then I used to teach, mainly I work with men, okay? I used to teach men all these different forms of abuse, how they affected, you know, their victims. But I couldn't see that I was in this type of relationship at the time. So the point I'm trying to make is, if I couldn't see this, right, at the time because of where I was at, how is your average kind of person gonna see this, you know, who's not in this situation? So the point I'm trying to make, when you're in this, it's very hard to see the wood for the trees. And that's the first part. The second part is, I'm never going to be that statistic. I always used to say that to myself, and I ended up being this statistic. And then the third part is, it is hard to get out. Because why? Because these people are so manipulative in so many different ways. I promise I'll change when. I promise things will change when we get married. I promise things will change when we have children. And you go through this cycle over and over, and you love this person, right? So when you get to the point where you do try and escape, you try to leave, it's hard because they're trying to kind of pull you back in. By the way, just a stat that I really want to share with you guys as well. In the UK alone, I don't know the stats across the States, but in the UK alone, there are, you know, so many women in the UK killed a week from domestic abuse relationships. I think it's 2 women a week, like it's high stats. Okay. So the most highest time to be abused is when you attempt to leave. Why? Because when you're in that relationship, there's a lot of power and control that goes on. The person is trying to control you. So when you attempt to leave, they're losing control. Mm-hmm. So that's a really risky time to be abused to you know, that point. So yeah, so it's hard to leave. The catalyst, you know what? I can't put a specific kind of point on it. It was just a case of, as well, what you've got to understand is they're there all the time. You can't, I know it sounds weird, you can't kind of go because they're there. Like, sounds strange, but this one point where I was at breaking point, and I tried to leave several times, and I'd gone to my mum's for a bit, or I'd gone to like a friend's for the night, or I was dragged back in. It just got to that point, and I was like, I can't physically live this life anymore. I don't want to swear, like I can do it anymore. This is just, I was in a mess. Mm-hmm. And I just, one day I knew he was out the house, I had to grab some things and go. But had I escaped? No, not really. I was at my mum's 40 minutes down the road. He was texting, he was phoning, he was turning up. So the whole talk that I do, that's separate to this, called How One Word Changed My Life. And it was that point I just needed to get away, and I went away, far away.
So we have to ask the question, what was that one word? Because I hear you.
I'll share the talk in the comments in a minute, but so you can go and check it out yourself. I'm not going to share the word. You can go and check the talk. It's only a 15-minute talk, but I don't want to ruin that.
All right. Okay. So we won't hear the words. Okay.
But when you see it, it'll make sense, because we're saying these words to ourselves. This is what I teach clients now. Sorry to interrupt. We're saying these words to ourselves all the time. You know, before, Mike, you were talking about that is so powerful because that controls everything, and that gets totally underutilized. Like, we're only using a certain percentage of that powerful, you know, kind of control room that is our mind. It's been totally underutilized. Why? Because we don't know any different. We're not taught any different. That's the first thing. The second thing is we're totally distracted, especially this day and age, right? We're on our phones all the time. We're distracted by the negativity of the news. We're conditioned by society. You know, we're just in this space where we're just distracted, and we don't know any different because we're not taught. If anyone really taught mental health or how to look after your mindset or well-being in school, in college, no. And when I work with clients, you know, you can learn a lot more now. You can just jump on the internet. There's a whole section now in a bookstore on personal development that didn't used to be 20 years ago. So we can learn this stuff, but not many people know this. I always say to clients when they work with me, like, you're in the top 10% of the population because you're learning this really, really, really powerful, powerful strategy that is, it's just going to change everything. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, makes total sense. And Christine, you could chime in because I know the folks in the comments, and a lot of them anyway. And there's varying degrees of it, but we all struggle with something. We all do. I mean, whether attachment, things mostly stem from childhood, right? And I every now and then I get on this because men have a problem, especially Southern guys in the U.S., but men in general, right? Being manly and opening up and being vulnerable about it. Now, I don't cry over spilled milk, but doesn't mean I don't cry over like death and things that are important. And in the same time, what's more manly, right? Treating your family like crap and kicking a stray cat on the way home, or digging in your issues and getting some help and figuring out how to get that stuff unstuck, right? And that's me. I mean, I went through it several times throughout my life, and not too long ago, where I just had to, I didn't want to live in the middle. I didn't want to live in that really inner turmoil, right? It's a horrible, dark place to be. And so I have no doubt that if somebody comes along and sees somebody who's vulnerable or weak or, needs help, they just take advantage of them. And that's very sad. So it says a lot about you, a whole lot about you and your inner strength and guidance and just you being attuned to changing that, because I know from personal experience, people in my life, how hard that is. So kudos to you. And I see a lot of people in the comments saying the same thing. Like, that's no easy task. And so now not only did you get okay, but your life's mission is to help other people get unstuck and be okay and love themselves. Is that right? Is that really the crux of it, is love yourself, value yourself? Is that kind of what you're for? Like, is that what the Crack the Code is about? Like, tell us a little bit about it.
Well, I really like the write-up that Barbara did, by the way, Changemaker. I like that. I'm going to steal that.
Yeah, she's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Barbara. I've messaged Barbara. We'll catch up another time. But yeah, yes, she's fantastic. So thank you for that amazing write-up. Yeah, so Changemaker, let's focus on that. So Crack the Code. So I created something what's called the Executive Code. And I've not really released this that much, but you guys are going to get a little kind of so I'm releasing a book called The Executive Code, and it's just being edited at the moment, so that's going to be coming out soon. Not many people know this, so yeah, thank you, Barbara. Barbara was fabulous. So yeah, so basically, like we were saying there, when we're stuck or don't know which way to turn, because we're not taught mental health, we're not taught about Barbara Hazelden is fantastic. She's magnificent. Thank you, Barbara. And I just put the YouTube link in the private chat, because I didn't know how to do it in the regular chat. Sorry. So yeah, so we don't know any different, right? Because we're not taught any different. So let me give you an example. Like, before I left the UK, I sold everything. Everything went to, I sold things. Like, I sold things at my house. I sold my car. I gave things away to charity. Like, I literally came away with a couple of little suitcases. But before I sold my car, I wanted to get it right. And I wanted to get, like, in the UK, the MOT up to date and all that. And there was just a couple of things that I wanted to get sorted, then sell the car. So I didn't want to go to college for 3 years and train to be a mechanic so I could fix the car myself. I just sent it to the guy down the road. He charged me a few $100. Car was fixed. I got it sold. So the point I'm trying to make is, when your car's broke, you send it to the mechanic, right? So when you're not feeling good in kind of your mental health, your mindset, you come to someone like me. So cracking the code is understanding that, well, first and foremost, I always say to people, oftentimes when people come to see me, they're like, oh yeah, I need to be fixed. Like, no, nobody needs to be fixed. We're perfect, wonderful, and amazing and fantastic just the way we are. It's just a set of old beliefs. It's just an old way of being. Because when we're born, we're kind of born a clean slate. Does that make sense? So we're born, and we're not born saying, oh, Mom, I'm not sure with those guys later. I'm a bit nervous. I'm not very confident. We're not born with no confidence. We're not born with anxiety or stress. We pick this stuff up along the way, right? So the good news is, if we learn it, we can unlearn it. And as we touched on there, I practice in clinical hypnotherapy. My background is in psychology. My first psychology degree was a few years ago. And so yeah, when we understand in a lot more detail about how our minds works, how our subconscious mind works, and how we can, what I call, rewire the brain, we can change those underlying beliefs, basically to live the life we want. And I always say, nobody needs fixing. We're wonderful, amazing, perfect, just the way we are. It's just, we learned something a long time ago. We learn an old belief, say, I'm not confident. Let's just, like a broad one there, or I have anxiety, or I'm stressed out. We learned this stuff, but the good news is, if we learned it, we can unlearn it, and that's what I help people do. So that's essentially how we crack the code. And once we do that, everything changes.
I love that story. And you know what? I think all of us are on a personal development journey at some point in our life, whether we choose to accept it or not. But for me, a key thing, and I don't know about you, was that they came to a head at one point where I suddenly had to stop and go, hold on, I'm actually the common denominator in attracting narcissistic people. It wasn't just that they were bad to me. I was actually attracting it, and I couldn't see it myself until one day I just went, hold on. this is actually me. And that was for me where I suddenly went, okay, I actually need to go and look at what is it in me that keeps attracting the same story, which is, or the same people, because that was actually where life was showing me where I needed to change, where I wasn't honoring myself, where I wasn't putting myself first, where I wasn't loving myself enough. So this is what I'm hearing. I think a lot of people can resonate with your story, even if it's different. Yeah. So we don't always have necessarily the same abuse, but it doesn't mean that we don't have the same potential shortcomings in terms of not believing enough in ourselves. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, that's a really good. I'm getting kind of goosebumps you talking about that, because you're right, because there's a couple of things. First of all, recognizing, hang on a minute, who's the common denominator here? So I was going through prior to this marriage, I was going through a string of bad relationships, and I was like, oh, well, actually, if you sit down, and this is what the talk talks about a little bit as well, who's the common denominator? But the second part is, what happens is, like I said before, we don't get taught any of this stuff, so that's okay. But oftentimes we, as human beings, as kind of adults, we don't take responsibility for our own shit, if you like, you know, our own kind of, well, actually, I'm the common. So actually, when you kind of, that's almost like it's like it was a light bulb moment for me, especially when I had this one conversation and then the conversations we had subsequently. Actually, who's the common denominator here? So I actually, when I started doing this inner work, it was like, okay, all this is it's just an old belief in myself. So I had this belief in which I was attracted. It goes back to people are kind of thinking, what are beliefs? By beliefs, I don't mean like a religious belief. I mean what we call a limiting belief. So a belief that limits us within ourselves. So I have my own set of beliefs. You've got your own set of beliefs. We've all got our own set of beliefs. We're all unique in ourselves, right? Because we're all unique as human beings. However, we often have these beliefs, what we call, that keep us stuck. Common ones are things like, I'm not good enough. Life is scary. Life is hard. I'm not confident, as I say. I struggle with anxiety. So these are beliefs that limit us. But what happens is we can let go of that belief. So for myself, there was a lot going around for me around not feeling good enough, lack of self-worth. So when I did the deep digging, and this was deep work, it was fun. Like I say, this work's fun, by the way, because you're making these changes in such a short space of time. I always say, once we start the work, you've done the hard bit. Feeling bad, feeling low, not enjoying life, not being satisfied, not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy, not feeling confident. That's hard. Why is that easy? That's hard. So you've done the hard part. When we start doing the work, this is the fun bit. You've done the hard bit for the last 10, 20, whatever years. Yeah. So when we start learning, when you learn at a deeper level how your subconscious mind works, and this really is just an evolutional thing, it just comes from our past, and you figure out, well, this isn't actually my fault. It's just the way the brain's wired. The brain is wired to focus on negativity, by the way. That's why we love watching the news. I don't watch the news, by the way. I tell clients to restrict their access as best as they can. So we're wired for negativity, right? So,
and I think we can get addicted to it too a little bit. We can almost get addicted to feeling bad and feeling sorry for ourselves and going through the same story. Why did they do this to me, and hurting and all this? And I'm not trying to take away from the hurt and the pain. It's real, but it's kind of addicted to, yeah. But it keeps us in a place where we're not able to actually empower ourselves. We're not able to actually step away from it. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So the way the brain is wired, and the way I wouldn't want to get too much into the psychology, but the way the brain is wired, we get addicted. We're addicted to the hormones of stress. Yeah. So if we think about how many thoughts we have a day, we have around 60,000 thoughts a day. So if I say to you guys, right, tonight when you go to bed, I want you guys just to write down all your thoughts of the day. I don't know about you, I could probably get to about 10, 20. The point I'm trying to make is those are our conscious thoughts. What is under the surface? Yeah. But most of our thoughts are connected to negativity, stress. So once we start to rewire that, and we rewire those old beliefs. So when I did the deeper kind of inner work, we kind of figured out this wasn't conscious, by the way. This is unconscious, subconscious. My old belief that was the main one was I'm rubbish. If I can hold on to that if I want, but what's the point? Well, am I going to serve clients if I still hold on to that belief? Am I going to create a successful business? No. So all I need to do is working with an amazing specialist who then became he's world class, my mentor. He's going to be 80 this month. I need to check in. He's based over in Liverpool still. He's phenomenal. He's still doing the work, right? He still has clients, and yeah, he's God. He changed. Well, he would say I changed my own life, but yeah, he's mentored me for the last 12 years, and he's just phenomenal. But I can hold on to that if I want, or I can let go. And yeah, you know, you can't do it overnight. If this work was simple, everyone would be doing it. But once you work with someone to clear that out, everything changes. And that's how that changed for me back then, you know. And it's not a case of that work's done and that's it. We still do the work, but it doesn't need to be the deep inner work. It's about it's like anything, isn't it? If you've been sat on your sofa or your couch, whatever you call it, in COVID, and you know you're eating the biscuits, and you think, right, I want to get a bit more healthy. I'll go to the gym. You won't go to the gym once. You might go to the gym more regularly. You might change up your exercise regime. You might eat a bit more healthily. You don't just do that once. That becomes part of a lifestyle, if that makes sense. So this work is kind of a lifestyle. So for me, I meditate regularly. Exercise is really important to me. And I want to be 100% for my clients as well, you know. So it just becomes part of your routine as well, like in terms of how you want to operate on a day-to-day basis, you know.
Very, very true.
So,
but when we take accountability and when we start taking responsibility, we suddenly become a lot more strong. We suddenly become, it's not easy. It's not an easy walk, but we start taking the steps towards regaining our own power, our own sovereignty. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That's a real biggie. A lot of people don't see. Just taking our responsibility for ourselves. Because once you do that, actually, you know, why am I feeling this way? What can I do differently about it? Have I been feeling stuck for a day, a week, a year, 10 years, 20 years? Because we try and do this. What happens is as well, we try and do these things like, say, let's take meditation. Like you guys probably hear this before. I've definitely heard this. Oh, you know, I've tried meditation. It doesn't really work for me. Okay, like what happened? Oh yeah, I gave it a go once, and like you've got to. It's like anything, isn't it? You know, went to the gym once and didn't get a six-pack. Not everyone wants a six-pack, I guess, but it's something that you got to take take responsibility for yourself, and just kind of like go on a journey, and you know, and but what I hear a lot as well is people read the books and then they kind of say, well, I don't put the thing into action. So you can read 100 books, which is great. It's better than reading notebooks, but unless you put the thing into action, it's gonna kind of slow up your progress, if that makes sense.
I've got to ask this on that note. So
Yeah.
you because it is. I mean, people, there's all kinds of resources and therapy and YouTube videos. There's no shortage of stuff to help people get unstuck, because Christine said it. You know, we can go down this spiral, right? And become the victim and get comfortable there and all this stuff. So do you find yourself, because of your background, because of the experience and all the things that you suffered through and worked out of, do you see that people respond to you better? Like you're able to say, hey, this is my story, and people go, oh, I relate to that. Is that really, you know, how it kind of fuels your client base? Like they feel comfortable around you, where they don't feel comfortable talking to somebody who can't relate to it?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, I get that a lot, actually. You know, I was working with a client not too long ago, and she was like, you know, you've been there, you've overcome this, in a sense that you understand, you can relate, you know, and you know, and again, I just when somebody says that, I really take it there, and I just find that really powerful in itself. But also, I think for me, what's really important is you'd be surprised, actually, because when I went into the work, when I was working with high risk offenders, and then I went into the work that I do now, I remember always thinking, you know, this sort of work, it's, you know, these professional people, but you'd be surprised, like the amount of people that come to me who've had a bad experience, and that really, really upsets me, because first of all, mental health is complex. I've been in mental health for over 20 years. You know, the mind is complex, and when you can't mess around with this stuff, right? You've got to kind of know what you're doing. And interestingly enough, we all know LinkedIn, right? We love LinkedIn, and we're all, you know, know our stuff on LinkedIn. You're amazing at LinkedIn, Mike. What you do with how you support your clients and the wins you get there, it's fabulous. And what I saw, interestingly enough, on LinkedIn, especially over COVID and kind of from COVID, this kind of sea of, I'll just in doing inverted commas, well-being specialists. And I don't want to roll my eyes too much, but you can't just read a book and become a wellness specialist overnight. And when I see that, it just worries me. I always check people's credentials out and, all this kind of thing. So yeah, the point I'm trying to make, I guess, when I'm working with a new client, for me, and this was really kind of rammed into me during my training, and training were hundreds and hundreds of hours, over the years. Building that rapport with somebody for me is incredibly important, because we might not be the right fit. So say you come along today, Mike, and you're like, you know what, I would like some support with X, Y, Z. Would always have that conversation. We'd always, do we gel? Are we going to work together? Because there's got to be that right fit. There's got to be that rapport. And for me, a 14-year-old life, but for me, just looking at the comments, that rapport is really, really essential, because that builds the relationship as you go. And then that rapport really leads to incredible change. Does that make sense? Because if you come along, Mike, and you say, right, I want help with X, we might potentially not be the right fit. So I could say, well, actually, I could refer you on to my colleague who specializes in that. And I will do that. But the amount of clients that come along and they've had a bad experience, it really upsets me, because I'm so passionate about this work,
Yeah. No, it's the same thing. That's what we do, relationship broker, right? If I'm not the best fit for you, we've done it. Matter of fact, me and Christine did it. Somebody reached out to me wanting a business help, and and I said, well, you need her first. Like, I'm not even on the list yet. And that's more powerful than any sales pitch, any advertising, any self-promotion you can possibly do, Janine. You know that, because that's how you're building it, right? And it's word of mouth. It's good experience. It's say, oh, this guy didn't, charge me for something I really didn't need yet, right? It's so basic human decency, especially you, when you're dealing with folks who are not doing well, right? They're vulnerable. They can be manipulated very easily. There's no level of trust higher than that, and I've seen it too. I've seen people who betrayed trust and confidence, and it's just the saddest thing ever. And I think that's why we love having you here in the pack. We love having you on the show, just because people need to know, like, they're not alone. They're not alone. Even if you've been screwed over by somebody, look, put it this way, before we get to our last question, the methods of the con man and the good man are the same, very similar, right? The difference is when I raise money, it goes to the charity. When he raised money, it ends up in his bank account. So everybody listening out there, look at the person, look at who they are, right? Examine, observe them, right? See how they act in little tasks, and that's why I love Janine. She's been there, she's done that. She wouldn't even consider hurting someone, right? And that's where it starts. And then you go to her, and then she can refer you out, and she can bring other people in. And that's what the pack's about. There's people in the pack that can help people through this, but they don't have the relationship. They don't have the story that you have, right? And we see this with veterans all the time, right? This person is a veteran. They're not going to listen to a redneck. They're going to listen to her because they can relate to her, Sandra or Susanna or somebody, right? So I love that approach. Look, what do you have coming up, and where can folks find you to learn more about you and to plug into what you have? You have an event coming up, or you just have a reoccurring sessions? What's the first step people need to do to get to know more about you?
So as I say, I always have an initial conversation with somebody, because like this, just being open. And by the way, just on that note, I just want to just touch on, because people might be watching, and I always say, if you are struggling in any way, just because most of my clients are men, and in the UK alone, certainly, mental health across the globe is huge. And the suicide rates of men alone, it's the biggest killer in men under the age of 45 in the UK. Again, I'm not sure of the stats out here or over in the US, but I always say, if you're struggling in any way, just reach out, even just to a friend, or if you know someone that's struggling. Sometimes just sending, I wasn't too well last week, as I mentioned, a couple of friends reached out. That can mean the world. Just someone, I'm checking in, seeing how you're doing. Just check in, or check in with a friend or a colleague, or even having a conversation can make a huge difference. That simple check-in, and that's really, really important. It doesn't need to be too professional. It can be to, as I say, somebody you just feel, will be open, because people like this. People love having conversations. People are sick of being glued to their phones. I was at a place the other week and was chatting to this guy, and he runs this amazing kind of dog rescue facility. And he was saying so many people are just glued to their phones. And so, yeah, just check in with somebody, you know, that can be crucially important. So yeah, most people can find me on LinkedIn. I do a lot on LinkedIn, as you know. I'm very visible on LinkedIn. I post there a lot. I'm you know, got a big following on there, and like yourself. So LinkedIn is probably the go-to place for me. I'm obviously on Facebook and Instagram as well. But even if somebody wants to have a conversation, you know, I'm here just to speak to somebody, even if it's just to point you in the right direction, or give you some, you know, some strategies, some ideas of advice, that kind of thing, because that for me is really important. I've had conversations with people who've been like in a bad place, and even after that, like conversation, half an hour, I will give people my time initially, you know, and the amount of times people have said, you know, I feel so much more relieved having spoken to you. I feel in such a, even just having that conversation, you know, I'm a friendly person, you know, we can have some fun on the chat as well. It doesn't only to be doom and gloom, you know, so just reach out. And if anyone might, you know, I know it's a bit cliche, but my DMs are open on LinkedIn. If people want to have a conversation, just to chat, just check in, you know, I'm always happy to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, and real quick, let's bring Lion up here. We're going to get to our signature question, but Janine, fantastic. Look, you said it best. Like, just give a shit. Show somebody you care. Show you, and the Hounds knows this. The Hounds knows what I do. Like, they can tell when I have a real bad day, because then I'm starting love bomb everybody in text and messages and all this stuff. And it's because you can't be happy, you can't be grateful and sad and worried at the same time. You can switch back and forth real quick, but it doesn't take much. And the impact it has on somebody, man. I mean, it doesn't take a lot. Just show somebody you care. Send a message. Every now and then I'll send somebody a random message, and you know, it's been a while, and it goes a long way. And I mean, seriously, and it can really foster some of the best relationships and friendships that you could find, right? I mean, Christine Bell, she love bombed me for 2 weeks. I didn't even see it on the, and I felt like a donkey, right? Because I'm like talking about reciprocity, and I'm not even paying attention. And you know, and that just transferred into a great relationship, right? Same thing with Isabel and all these folks inside of here, Sandra, Dr. New. I mean, there's tons of them, and now they're making friends, and don't go at it alone. That's the whole thing. Seek help. Go talk to Janine. You know, she may not be the one, but at least it's a baby step to better life. Stop living a shit life. Stop telling yourself you can't do better. I'm not Dr. Phil, but people call me like I am sometimes. And it's good to have people like you to be able to refer out, right? And to say, hey, you know, go here. You know, this is something worthy.
Just to say that this is why communities like this are really important. Like, and again, this might sound cliche, but I've moved across the other side of the world, and I've met so many amazing people. Like I've met so many amazing people on LinkedIn who I now call my friends, you know, and I've met up with so many people in real life as well. And like LinkedIn is a great, I think just having communities like the Hounds, and you know, because honestly, like this is another interesting one. Moving from the UK to here, I've genuinely found out like who my, you know, kind of friends are as well and stuff like that. So having those communities, because we all do our own thing, right? So having that space is really, really powerful. And I love this community for that as well. So you're doing some great work, and look how big it is, and look how it's grown. Look how many people you've got here and doing their thing, and they're all connecting, and everyone's so different, right? You know, everyone comes from different walks of life, and it's just, yeah, it's powerful. It really is.
Oh my gosh, thank you. And it is. I mean, it's not me. Like D. Grant Smith, he's the leader of our welcome wagon. And he said it, Xavier, like I'm I'm just the guy who finds all the you know, all the awesome people and helps them coordinate and go out there and do greater things. I mean, honestly, I don't have that many skills, not enough to run a community like this, but I don't need them. And then we got somebody in the audience, and it's the biggest honor. It tells me that we're doing the right things, that we're sticking to our values, because this person opened up about something very personal through the Hounds, and they opened up twice about this through the Hounds. And you know, that to me, that's worth $1 million+, or you know, to be able to support someone, to open that up so they can help someone else. And it's because someone invited someone to the Hounds, who invited someone, who invited someone, and I stuck them together, not knowing why the hell I did it, and great things happened. So, um, concern yourself with who instead of what. That's my best advice. Go find who, right? I'm having an issue. Well, then Janine, or if you know someone, connect them and Janine. Don't have to be weird about it. Just say, hey, I just wanted to introduce you to somebody. Send them a DM, right? Make this easy. So let's get to our signature question. We'll put your link on there again. She's pretty easy to find on there, right? There's only like maybe 10 Janines. So, all right, here's the question. Someone's struggling with this, right? They're struggling with the self-doubt, dependency. Maybe they're in an abusive relationship. Maybe it's a friendship or even a business partner. That happens a lot, right? I've talked to a lot of people who are like, men too. They're like, oh, I don't know if I can do this shit anymore. So, what is the? It can be advice, experience, or suggestion, whatever it is. But what is that? What's that one little baby step or action step that someone could take to really get on that path? Right, they're stuck, but what's that little bitty thing they could do? What's that first thing they can try to get out of this life that they don't love?
I think just maybe like I said before, getting yourself out of distraction. Spend some time like focusing on you. A lot of people, they're committed to so many other people. They're committed to their kids, their partners, their business, their work. Start focusing on you, because I used to be a flight attendant many years ago, right? Back in the day. And what did we used to say? Put your own oxygen mask on before everyone else, right? So start focusing on you first and foremost. And like we touched on before, here's something typing. Like we touched on before, really just take that step to speak to somebody. If you're not feeling great, like just do some inward reflection. I think journaling is very powerful. The gratitude piece is really powerful. Because as we said earlier, a lot of the time we're not taking responsibility. We're looking outside of ourselves. I'll feel better when. I'll use all these strategies to cope, mask and distract: alcohol, drugs, gambling, stuff like that. So once we start, just make ourselves present and just start looking inward and start focusing on ourselves before everyone else. That's where I think the change starts happening. And it can feel hard to do that, right? Because we've got so many different things going on. But you need to put your own oxygen mask on before everyone else. It's critical.
Dude,
Great
it's true. I
advice.
hated that, but it's true. Christine, question to you,
Well,
like, because you've dealt with it.
Yeah, so I've been on this journey for 9 years. We all have different reasons we come into this journey and experiences, but I think it's still very similar in different ways in terms of the journey we're on, from personal development, and for me, spirituality as well took me there. But for me, the big learning for me, and I don't know what it is for you, it has been to realize that things don't just get better overnight. It's actually a long journey where things that I thought I had dealt with is usually like the onion that keeps peeling. It will still come up, but the difference now for me is learning to be okay with feeling the feelings, to be okay to see what's going on, and not lose my in the process. Actually being okay, this is okay. Things, this is inside. Things haven't changed on the outside, and for me, that has been the big change in me. And I use drawing. I love drawing. So Claudia, I adore her because she's so great at art. But for me, art has been fantastic for like just going, okay, breathe through this. And it's okay. The feeling keeps resurfacing. Is that something that you work with the people as well, where you see it comes back and think, I should be done with this, but really it's actually a layer?
So just to put this into context, as I said before, my mentor is going to be 80 this month. He's still doing the work. Okay, it is an onward journey, but the point I'm trying to make is, like, if someone came to start working with me today, we do the inner work, which is the inner healing. And then what happens is you've got the tools, techniques, the strategies to then manage yourself moving forward. Because what I teach is very practical, because people often say, well, how do I do this? How do I make the change? But having these practical tools, techniques, strategies, that client I talked about earlier, he's kind of saying, right, I'm still doing this, all these strategies that I've taught. He's and I don't mean you need to be like a Buddhist monk and sit on a hill for like 8 hours a day. You can do if you want. But he's implementing these strategies, and he's putting these strategies in place 5-10 minutes a day. Everyone's got 5 minutes. You've got 2 hours to scroll through your LinkedIn and your Facebook. So everyone has 5 minutes. The point I want to touch on there as well, you mentioned with the drawing, is be present. Present is the only place we can be. Quite often we're too busy being worried about the future. We're in anxiety, or we're feeling sad, upset, low. We're in the past. So it's very hard to be present. The more we can be present, and we do that through things like drawing, through breathing, good breathing exercises, through yoga, through meditation, through all this, all this great stuff. And because the present is the only place we can be, but we find it very hard to be present now with all these distractions, So yeah,
but
really, really
Marcus,
impressive.
yeah, what was Marcus Aurelius? We suffer more on our minds than we do in reality, and that's you need to fix it. All right. So hey, real quick because Christine Bell's gonna have to. Hey, so we kept talking about your dog, but who is this? This not a dog, Christine? Who is this? Is that Skippy? Is that the dude that's been chewing on
A
your
little
internet wires every week?
kangaroo.
Oh, my friend Skippy here.
That,
Yeah, he's just relaxing there.
yeah, he's just hanging out. Nobody in Australia cares. He just bouncing on the
I,
car. They're like, "Hello,
I was
Skippy." It's
I was in Australia for Christmas and I saw some kangaroos, which was really cool. When I was in Canberra seeing my family for Christmas, that was really cool.
Dude,
Yeah.
I love it. Like Eastern US, our wildlife is like child's play, man. It's like kindergarten. Like if I go to Australia or Alaska, oh, everything out there will eat you, even the plants, right? So like I always joke because it's just fascinating. Like, the world's bigger than my outhouse. Who knew, right? So yes, Christine, you're a good sport. Australia's joined us. Thanks for
Everyone
hitting
should
up.
know. I send Mike videos almost every other day from the wildlife in Australia.
Yeah, and
Right.
like we talked about that yesterday. There's this giant like ostrich style bird that's just throwing people in the ocean, and no one seems to care. That baffles me. That wouldn't fly in the country. All right, so Lion, we're gonna wrap it up with you. Well, I'll give 2 cents. So, what's your take on it, man? What can someone do, or what is your experience if somebody gets stuck when they're just in this depression, this funk? They're just not themselves, and they don't love themselves. What's going on?
Here,
Oh, did I
the
mute you? There you go.
yep, there you go. Okay, so it's one of those things that everyone has to find their own thing. I don't think there's no one direct answer, but the one thing I could say across the board is just ask for help, right? Just don't be afraid to ask, even if you believe in a pastor, church, whatever it is, just ask. Talk to someone to say, I want you to listen to me. I don't need no help, no feedback. I just want to vent and listen. So just ask for help.
Yeah. Yeah, especially if you're a guy. If you're a guy, hey, just sit back and listen just for a minute. Just don't because we all do. We got kids and families and crap and business and all that stuff. It's just
Yeah,
good to know you could talk to somebody, man. It
yeah,
might be 5 words, but just be there. Just be there for somebody, however it is, and ask them. Here's my favorite thing. I remember where I got this line. My favorite thing is because I don't know what to say. I'm bad at some situation. And I say, hey, my heart goes out to you. How can I best support you right now? Like whoever taught me that, man, I gotta give them a gold star because that was great. Because I would just assume shit, and it would probably be the wrong thing for me to do. But just ask them, say, hey, my heart goes out to you. I understand, I feel it, or whatever's honest, and say, hey, how can I best show up for you, support you? What can I do to be there for you? Man, just asking the question to me means the world, right? Like there you go. And they may not even know, but at least they know you care, right? And keep that dialogue open. So, yeah, again, my 2 cents is the same. I'm going to go ahead and confirm everything you all said. Just reach out. This is how things fester. Crappy life, suicide, this kind of stuff. We got to end it. We got look. You could be a man and be open about stuff. I mean, you could be anybody and be open about stuff. We just got to start leaning into it. Stop pushing it away. Go out there and tell somebody, hey, I'm not feeling okay. All right. And many people in the pack have done that for me and each other. And that's why we're not sitting around miserable. And that's why we're out here, using our mess to go out there and help other people. Right. So thank you so much, Janine. Yeah. Go, y'all check her out. Go out there, get to know her, check her content, send a message, have a chat, uh, make things happen. All right. Lion, thank you so much for running the backstage, doing all these things, man. He's responsible for our great videos, the short videos from the Hounds, all the good stuff. We got Claudia. She's in the audience, man. She is number one in graphics. And then we've got Christine, business strategy, brand strategy, consumer strategy. Absolutely the best. So listen, hey, shameless plug, but look, if you're trying to move the needle and you want to be around these kind of rock star winners with giant hearts, get stuff done, we make more money, we can help more people, right? We get more time, we can spend our time doing things that we enjoy in life, going helping people, not work all daggum day if we don't want to. So it's about freedom, it's about options. So reach out to some of us, go to the business page, send us a DM. I'll be more than happy to bring you to our call. until next time, I don't even remember who the guest is next time, man. I'm so spoiled now. Everybody's done taking care of me. So appreciate you all. Love you all in the comments. We'll see you on the next one, 7 p.m. Eastern, New York City time, Wednesday. And Lion, go ahead and roll that outro, brother. Appreciate you all. Thank y'all for stopping by. Be sure to follow, share, and like, and send me a message if you had fun today. Y'all come back now.